Yeah, it's funny. We don't know how many people know about this thing. And Aaron, who owns Rock Solid, has been like telling us about it for years. I think he found it, I don't know, a decade ago and lost it for a bunch of years and was able to find it again. It's a cool feature. You roll up on it not knowing it's there. It just looks like a weird outcrop and you kind of ride right at the nose of it.
Welcome to Trail Effect. I am your host, Josh Blum. Trail Effect is a show that dives into the stories behind trails, the communities that embrace trails, and the people who rely on trails as a way of life. The goal of this show is to turn the stories you will hear from our guests into useful knowledge that can be applied to your community while providing some entertaining and inspirational content. Guests on Trail Effect include trail builders, board members, community leaders, volunteers, and regular people who really enjoy trails. For episode 197, we have Adam Yeoman, the Executive Director for the Copper Harbor Trails Club. During this conversation, we talk all things Copper Harbor 2025, which includes past events, future events, new trails, and there is also some intel on what participants of the 2025 Trails Fest might have in store in terms of both the XC course and the Enduro courses. Adam covers a lot during this conversation, and Copper Harbor as a trail organization has a ton going on. So even if you are not from the upper Midwest, there are some pieces of information that you may find interesting or helpful for your trail community. Cooley Creative is the title sponsor for this episode. They design and build custom websites, as well as help companies with branding, photography, and e-commerce. Cooley Creative was started in Wisconsin, but is now based out of Bend, Oregon. Jared from Cooley Creative is a friend of mine. We've traveled together on multiple mountain bike trips, and sometimes he sends it. For more information about Cooley Creative, head on over to www.dudejustsendit.com. Yes, that's right. www.dudejustsendit will get you to the Cooley Creative website, so check it out. Cattle Mountain Apparel, the brand that was built by travelers, hikers, trail runners, and mountain bikers, with the motto of venture far, laugh hard. While I definitely use Cattle Mountain Apparel for mountain biking, Cattle Mountain is also my go-to choice for daily wear as it is super functional and comfortable. Cattle Mountain Apparel also offers a lifetime gear repair program with the goal of extending the life of their products while reducing waste in the process. If you ever damage any of your apparel, Cattle Mountain will repair it for free for life. By using the affiliate link found in the show notes or on the Trail Effect website, a small commission will come back to the Trail Effect podcast, which helps to cover the cost of expenses for keeping this show going. Now on to the Trail Effect with Adam Yeoman. Here we are today on Trail Effect of Adam Yeoman. Adam is a former president of the Copper Harbor Trails Club here in the Keweenaw Peninsula, and he is currently the interim executive director, which is a role that he stepped off the board and stepped into because it needed to be filled. And how's it going today, Adam?
Doing well, Josh. Yeah, thank you.
Well, we're going to do some 2025 Trail Club updates here because there's always a lot going on in the Keweenaw Peninsula with Copper Harbor Trails Club, even though it's so far removed from a lot of people. It's really a place where, surprisingly, a lot of people come to from all over the country and even all over the world.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. We say this all the time, but you don't get to Copper Harbor by accident. It's literally the end of the world. It's the farthest town from a freeway in the United States. And I think the year-round population is 110, 120 people, but that just explodes in the summer pretty drastically with mountain bikers, but a ton of other experienced users as well.
Well, and geographically, for those who aren't aware, it's like literally the middle of Lake Superior.
Yeah. I think we're 12 hours from Detroit, right in the tippy tip of the Keweenaw Peninsula. The closest city, I guess, at a push, the closest town is Calumet, and that's 30 or 40 minutes away, and that's only a few thousand people. So, yeah, really, really up there.
Well, maybe it should go with that. Maybe we should talk about that for just a brief moment. At the turn of the century, Calumet was one of the largest cities in the state of Michigan.
Yeah, almost the state capital. It was very close to being the state capital. So the Keweenaw Peninsula is the very first mining boom in the United States. It predates the gold rush. It was, a massive area. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people worked here extracting copper. And it was really the first point for miners to come into the U.S. And so, and from all sorts of nationalities, all came here, all worked here, and then dispersed into the rest of the U.S. So really a very early major hub for immigrants to come into the country.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible to see, like to think about that history the way it was and to see it today. It's a totally different thing. I always am in awe with all the stuff around here. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, it's neat. So we were talking about this the other night. I was a tour guide in high school at one of the local historic mines. And I've always loved the local history here. It's super interesting. Going to high school here, there's so many ruins and things you can go play around with and experience. And the history it's crazy. I think there was 25,000. We should double check this. I think it's 25,000 miles of underground tunnels. Maybe it's 2,500. But regardless, a huge amount of underground mining that happened here.
Well, with that, do you want to go into early updates of 2025, how you transitioned into being the interim executive director and stuff that's going on with, I guess, Ride the Keweenaw would be the first event you guys would have hosted this year? Yeah,
for sure. I've been with the organization on the board, I think, for 7 years. And in that time was a board member and then was the secretary, treasurer, and then the president for 2 or 3 years. And our previous executive director stepped away at the end of last year. So that role was empty and we, went about hiring somebody that just didn't work out. And fortunately, I had worked very closely with the previous ED. And so it was a pretty easy thing for me to step into. I had the time, I had the availability, and so there's nobody else to do it. So I ended up doing it. Yeah, and it was cool. Like the learning curve, fortunately, wasn't too steep. I've been involved with the org for long enough that I kind of knew everything that was going on. I had already formulated a lot of the relationships that are important. And it was learning some of the systems and ins and outs that I had to do, but that was all relatively quick. So yeah, all in all, a relatively easy transition, which is nice. Yeah, and obviously I'm passionate about the organization. I'm passionate about Copper Harbor. I certainly want what's best up there. And so it was logical for me to step in here and take over.
Yeah. And with that, I do know we were out scoping out some new trail for next year. And you did mention during that walk that your hours that you put in there were still pretty high.
Yeah, it was crazy at the start of the year. Yeah, I had done a lot of previous roles in the org and those didn't go away. Plus kind of taking on the role of executive director. So the start of the year was tough. I have a young daughter and I've been fortunate to not work since she was born. And so it was just a big change for our family for me to be so busy with work and up in the harbor so much. But that settled down a little bit. We were able to hire some staff and fortunately it's a really good team. We all work really well together. But before they came online, that up until really May it was tough. It was really hard. And I'm glad it's not like that so much anymore.
Let's talk about your staff. So you have Nick. I met Nick this week.
Yep.
He's your marketing/trails coordinator.
Yeah, so he worked part-time for us, or full-time last year, part-time trail, just worker, maintenance worker, and then doing some media stuff for us. He went down to Bentonville over the winter and went to the trail school down there to really kind of hone his skills. And man, he's an eager beaver. I love it. He is so dedicated to Copper Harbor. And now he's taken over really chiefly as a trail coordinator. So really heading up our maintenance program. Getting out and checking in on projects when I can't be out on the ground. But he also went to school for digital cinema. And, so we tap into that resource a fair bit as well.
Yeah. And you can see that those that follow the Copper Harbor Trails Club online, you can see, some of his media pushes both in Instagram and Facebook. And I guess anywhere else where you get your online stuff these days.
Yeah, for sure. And then we also have Harrison, who works with me in the office part-time as sort of, I hate to call him an assistant, but like assistant executive director. And then out on the trails with Nick part-time as well.
Is he based in the harbor or is he based more down here in Houghton area?
He's based down here, but both he and Nick essentially live in the harbor. Well, Nick's up there essentially full-time, lives in my driveway. And then Harrison is up there part-time in my driveway as well. So we got a little gypsy village going on there.
I mean, it wouldn't be Copper Harbor without some dispersed gypsy villages.
Exactly. It's kind of the par for the course up there.
Yeah. Well, how did your first event go this year, Ride the Keweenaw? I think you kind of based that out of Copper Harbor proper, which is a little bit different than the event we're going to talk about next.
Yeah, so Ride the Keweenaw is a cool event. It probably came about, I don't know, in the mid 2010s. And we wanted to showcase all of the trail systems in the Keweenaw. Like Copper Harbor's kind of been the tippy top geographically and as far as the quality of the system or just the notoriety of the system. But there's other great riding experiences here. So we wanted an early season event to kick off bike tourism, but also showcase. There's the Adventure Mine Trails, the Soki Trails, an hour south of Houghton, stuff in Houghton, so the Michigan Tech Trails, stuff in Hancock across the bridge, the Mosto and Churning Rapid Trails, and then Sweetown up in Calumet. And so we set up this event to kind of have stopovers in each of those trail systems. And then it moves up to Copper Harbor on Sunday for our first Enduro of the year, which is part of the Lake Superior Gravity Series. And it's a cool event. It's a kind of easy event for us compared to some of the others later in the year. So it's nice for us to like get back in the mode of doing events. Yeah, and it's great. The weather can be dicey, but it was good this year, and the Enduro was fun. And yeah, so all in all, very good.
And then coming up, so this will go live before this next event, is your big event for the year, which is Trails Fest.
Yeah. Yeah. So this year, the Orbian X Copper Harbor Trails Fest, it's a beast. It's of all the things that we're doing this year for me in this new role, it's the one I'm kind of the most nervous about. I've been, thoroughly involved for the last few years as the race director of the Enduro and the downhill. And that's sort of what I know so well. And for so much of it, I'm out in the woods running the races, setting up courses, timing and all that kind of stuff. And so I haven't seen a lot of like the nuts and bolts that actually keep the race going on or keep the whole weekend going on. But fortunately, there's plenty of experience on the board who's kind of done more of that work from me. And plus we have Nick and Harrison now, and we work so well as a team that like it's a little daunting now, but I'm sure it's going to be great when we're out there doing it.
So those events support the Trail Club from a financial perspective too.
For sure. They're huge fundraisers for us. So obviously race registrations is a fundraiser, but they're also huge opportunities for us to sell merchandise. At Trails Fest, we have food and beer that we sell, and it's part of the fundraiser. It helped attract our new title sponsor, Orbian, here. Yeah, we have a raffle. There's all sorts of like ancillary stuff that helps us to fundraise throughout the entire weekend.
Talk about that new title sponsor a little bit, because I think this one might be a little bit off in left field in terms of like and I think it's cool because we're going to say a non-endemic to the industry or to the bike community sponsor.
Yeah, it's cool. So down in Houghton, an hour south of Copper Harbor, there's Michigan Tech University, really well-renowned engineering school and computer science school. And so there's all these engineering firms that have kind of popped up around Houghton to tap into that resources. And one of them is Orbian Space Technology. And I wish I knew the details more, but essentially they make thrusters for satellites. And they're exploding, not literally, but like the business itself is doing super well.
Perfect choice of words.
Yeah, right. I gotta be careful there.
They're not exploding. The business is doing really well.
Yeah. There we go. That's more accurate. And so it's cool. They're a huge local employer. They're always trying to bring in new talent. And I think they recognize how important quality of life is in the Keweenaw, because it can be a really tough place to live. There's not a lot going on here. And so trying to attract talented engineers and bring their families here, that could be tough. But if you can show the experience of living here, the outdoor rec possibilities, just how easy the access is to get out in the woods, I think that's really attractive to a lot of these local firms. And so Orbian recognized that Copper Harbor Trails is a huge factor in that. We do a really good job of making this a pretty desirable place to live. And through that, the partnership we started chatting about it. They have a lot of employees who ride our trails. They come and race with us. And so, yeah, it pretty quickly came together. And it's our first year with them, but so far it's been pretty awesome.
Well, and the quality of life and attracting and retaining employees is something that is mountain biking and outdoor recreation, more generally speaking, is becoming more common.
Yeah, for sure. Yes, it's certainly not unique to the Keweenaw here. I think it's such an important part of anywhere, really, any town, city, rural area across the country. Like everybody wants that quality of life. Everybody wants to get outside, and it's like riding from your front door or a short car trip to, amazing trails or paddling or snowboarding or whatever it is. It's becoming more and more important. And it's cool that more businesses are recognizing that. So yeah, we do really well, like obviously Orbian, a great sponsor, a great partner, but just like our general business partners throughout the area. And they like range from dentist office to construction firms to realtors and everything in between. And I think it's just all part of people here recognizing how important of an impact we are to the economy, but also for bringing new people to the Keweenaw.
Well, and one of the things that happens two of the things that happen aside from your competitive events are your men's and women's camps.
Yep. Yeah.
Those already went off.
Yep. Yeah. Both. Yeah. So our men's clinic back in June, and our women's clinic just happened at the end of July. Yeah. Those came about, I think this was the 12th or 13th year of Women's Weekend. And, at the time and still today, compared to other Midwest trail systems, Copper Harbor's pretty challenging. And Leanna was like one of the initial coaches for that, and was just recognizing that she would go ride and wouldn't see other women in Copper Harbor. And she wanted to change that. And so she got a couple coaches together and started building this thing. And it's massive now. It's huge. It's such a fun weekend. And the sport has changed obviously in that time, but certainly Copper Harbor, seeing all the gals out there, all the women out there is pretty awesome today. And then a couple years later, there's a couple guys who are like, hey, I want to learn how to mountain bike too. Like, what's going on here? And so one of our friends, John Gershenson, put together a big boy clinic, and that's been a huge success as well. So yeah, both are really, really fun.
Well, and I'm going to say this is you guys have taken it to the next level in terms of what you're offering people who attend those clinics, because you're not just relying on the trail system that's in place. You've actually built features and built stuff around trying to enhance these clinics. You want to maybe elaborate on that, both out at East Bluff, but also in town? Yeah,
for sure. So yeah, last year, 2 years ago, I lose track of time. We actually purchased some land as a trails club. It's the first land that we own ourselves, and put in a skills development park. And like you said, really recognizing that we need something that not only for the clinics, but also just to get people a little more comfortable with our terrain, our soil types, because it can be different than a lot of the other places. And so it's a really, kind of safe environment, progression features to get people out there and experiencing that stuff. And the more we built, the more we realized we needed. And so one of our projects that is just about to start, we hope, is a kind of new drop progression trail right in Copper Harbor, right on Brockway. And it's cool. It's we kind of thought we may be done with gravity trails in Copper Harbor. So much of that has moved out to East Bluff, but it's cool that the township who owns the property saw the importance of these skill development stuff and allowed us to build this trail. And so, hopefully we're not done in town. Like, hopefully there's more to come, but it's really exciting to be putting this one in.
Yeah. And for those to kind of geographically put where that trail is, that's near Daisy Dukes, and Berry Picker and a return trail was built last year.
Yeah. So we were fortunate last year to build a climbing only trail. So it's mountain bike uphill and then hiking 2-way. And again, that was the first new trail in Brockway in a long time, maybe
since Overflow. On that side of Brockway.
On that side of Brockway. But, I think we added a few others on the other side, but even that was 7 or 8 years ago. And so again, the township owns that property. They were super keen to put in this hiking access, that was really appealing for the community, because we have so many of these cool little hiking zones, but they were inaccessible other than hiking up the road or driving up to them. So this created some really good connectivity for that, and also allowed us to get uphill traffic off of the flow and remove some of that conflict. We hit a really cool overlook. It's one of my favorite overlooks in Copper Harbor, and it's nice grades. It's a really quick way to get up the hill. So it's cool.
So you talked about gravity, and I think a lot of people know Copper Harbor for gravity, both with the stuff off Brockway, but also East Bluff. But I think what some people may not recognize is that there are lots of miles.
Oh, yeah.
We'll say fitness miles.
Yeah, tons and tons of miles. It's one of the cool things about the harbor. And I think a focus of us as we consider our build years every year, that we want to balance both the gravity stuff that we're, maybe a little well known for some of these bigger XC loops. And so kind of like our most famous or our biggest loop is the Keweenaw Point Trail, which we are actively working on now. You and I went and looked at the next phase of it a couple of days ago, and we're kind of checking out the flag line and scouting it, making sure we're all on the same page. And that thing's a beast. Yeah, I think we built the first section in 2015. The concept of this is 25 years old. It's been in initial permitting phases for 15 years or so now. So that first section was built in 2015. We had initial permits for the rest of it the following year in 2016. It's been in the DNR master plan since 2010, something like that. And it's a big trail. It's taken a long time to build. The permitting landscape has changed pretty drastically from when we started. The cost of trail has changed immensely, since we started the project. And so, yeah, it's been a challenge. It's been really fun. 2 years ago, we built what we call 3.1, which is, so like we built, the phase 1 in 2015. I think phase 2 went in 2017 or 2018. We filled in some gaps since then. 3.1 went in a couple of years ago. Right now we're working on 3.2. We should give these things names. So this section is Keystone to Fish Cove. And then next year, I should knock on some wood here. I think we're right about to get our final permitting for 3.3, which kind of is the crown jewel of this whole trail. Gets over to this really remote waterfall that dumps right into Lake Superior that we lost public access to a few years ago. So this will recreate good public access on sustainable trail and get bikers there, which has never been a thing. And it's gorgeous. It's absolutely amazing. And then it's kind of works its way back up towards Copper Harbor. So again, knocking on some wood, fingers crossed when we finish that thing up next year. It's right about 30 miles of single track out of Copper Harbor all the way around. And then for the time being, it'll be 5 or 6 miles of road riding, but on a very cool road to get back into Copper Harbor. So, I think in a few years, we should have access and permits to do the rest of that in single track. So we're going to be 38, 39, 40 miles all in this big loop, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, not to mention everything else around it.
Yeah. Plenty of other XC trails that go along. There's the Highlands, which is one of my favorite trails. There's actually plenty of kind of good XC stuff around town as well. And future expansion. I mean, Josh, you've been involved in our master planning, and the plans for kind of like our wilderness backcountry experience are massive. Lots and lots of miles out there. Yeah. And so kind of like back to what I was saying originally, we try to balance our builds between adding more gravity stuff and if that's in town on Brockway or the majority of it out on East Bluff, but also trying to put in more XC miles every year as well.
And let's go back to 3.2, we'll call it Keystone to Fish Cove. One of the cool features that just got built through 2 days ago is what you guys refer to as a sea arch. Maybe you want to explain what that is a little bit.
Yeah, it's funny. We don't know how many people know about this thing. And Aaron, who owns Rock Solid, has been like telling us about it for years. I think he found it, I don't know, a decade ago and lost it for a bunch of years and was able to find it again. And it's a sea arch, but it's right in the middle of the woods. It's way up there. And it's a cool feature. You roll up on it not knowing it's there. It just looks like a weird outcrop, and you kind of ride right at the nose of it. And then you come up alongside over this crest and you dive in, and there's this incredible arch in front of you covered in roots. There's trees on top of this thing. And we're going to ride right underneath it. And I think like creating that confined space to ride through is a really unique feature. Certainly there's nothing like that in the harbor or most of the Keweenaw, although you can ride through mine sometime, which is pretty cool. But yeah, like one of those standout features that's going to be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I know we looked at it on Wednesday. The builder was staying across the road from me, and he, finished the rock work on Wednesday. And so it's a very unique thing that I think I asked Aaron, I said, did you know this was out? He's like, no, I just randomly found it. Like he had no idea.
Yeah, that man spends way too much time walking around the woods, It's pretty cool. Yeah, the trail's neat too. There's a bunch of mines that we're running up against. We think most of them probably exploratory mines from the 1840s. Yeah, there's just so much out there. And it's such a big landscape that although a lot of that stuff has been cataloged, both from an archaeological standpoint, relatively modern history standpoint, but there's so much land, not everything has been. And so we keep finding these surprises out there.
Well, moving back to East Bluff, one of the additions that people will find since last year's Trails Fest, which I think is a lot of time, a lot of people come up for Trails Fest. It's maybe their last time for coming up for the season, but you guys put in a new hub at the top.
For sure. So East Bluff, it kind of is a standalone bike park, although it's part of the Copper Harbor Trail system. We fund those trails, we maintain them, but it has that very bike park feel to it. And so, yeah, all the trails start from the top, essentially in one point. Up until building the hub, it was not a rat's nest. They still all originated in a point, but they just kind of dropped in random places, and that was that. And so we knew we wanted some sort of start feature, some sort of starting ramp or start hub. And dirt is of a premium here in Copper Harbor. It's not particularly hard or easy to find. And, we knew this thing had to be created out of something. And somehow the guys were able to keep finding dirt. And so we were hoping this thing was going to be like 5 or 6 feet tall. It's probably, 12 or 15 feet tall at this point. So it's cool. It creates this really unique feature. We were able to use down cedars to kind of build this thing up. Not log cabin vibe, but to give it some life and to give it a natural feeling. And yeah, all the trails start from the top of the hub. And we were chatting before we started recording. Like, I think it creates a social space. It's a space that people can gather before you drop into the trails. And it's also cool if you're riding with friends, you all start in the same point. You also all kind of finish at the same point at the bottom of the hill. And so it just allows you that little bit of downtime to chat about what you're going to do. We've got some wayfinding there to kind of explain what all the trails are. And so you can work on your progression through the trails. and it's neat. It's, it turned out pretty awesome.
Well, and there's even like, I guess this is commonly referred to in the trail world, but there's like squirrel catchers at the start of each trail. So it kind of sets the tone of what you might find.
For sure. Yeah. You know, where we were before the hub was just like these random trails that snaked off into the woods. You're right. We're able to put in these filter feature squirrel catchers, just so people aren't getting in over their head. Again, we're I don't know, not totally unique in the Midwest, but there's not a lot of spaces like us. And some of our trails are quite challenging. There's big rock rolls, jumps. Just our soils in general are quite rocky and loose. So yeah, having these features, having the wayfinding that kind of explains the progression through it, I think it just makes a better riding experience for a lot of people.
And I believe if time is on our side, there might be a couple more lines that pop up yet this year. If not early next year.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, hopefully this year.
I would think so.
Yeah, we still got plenty of build season left. So, and I think one of the projects is going to start Monday. So these won't be full top to bottom trails. They'll kind of spur off some of the other ones and fill in some of the available space on each bluff. So coming off of one of the trails whipsaw and then another trail flow ride, these just a little bit shorter spurs, but through some really cool terrain. So some awesome natural features out there that we're going to tap into. And then we're actually going to create sort of a lower hub, not right at the bottom, but just where a bunch of these trails will reconnect before dropping into the last few lines that gets you right to the bottom.
Yeah, and I think that's, it's a trend that we've seen in mountain biking happening more, where you can get, like I noticed it when I was in Chattanooga at Walden's Ridge, the way it was laid out, there was like a upper traverse trail, a mid traverse trail, and a lower traverse trail, and you could kind of like pick and choose your lines. Like you didn't have to go, once you locked into one trail, you didn't have to lock into that trail till you got to the bottom. You could go halfway down if you're at the top, hop on the mid-mountain traverse, and then hop on a different trail if you wanted a different experience. And it's kind of an experience similar to that.
Yeah, for sure. And we're actually putting in a mid-mountain road at the moment for maintenance access, for emergency access. We're grooming in the winter for cross-country skiing now. So that kind of all plays into it. But it also allows you to kind of pick and choose what you want to ride top to bottom and change it up. It's also cool from us from a Enduro race perspective. You can create unique trails each year. You don't have to ride the same ones. So yeah, I'm excited to see these ones going.
Let's go to the winter for a minute, because that is a push that your organization has been on more recently especially with cross-country skiing.
Yeah, for sure. So a couple of board members for a few years were kind of bootleg grooming on just some old logging roads that we have. And it was getting some traction. So we decided to take it on as an organization. And for kind of two reasons: to support the businesses in the winter here. The economy is tourism based all year long. And obviously it's mountain biking, ATVing, hiking, that kind of stuff in the summer. And wintertime is really, it's snowmobiles. And that's it. A little bit of Mount Bohemia, but that's kind of far enough away from Copper Harbor where there's not too much traffic from it. And snowmobiles are kind of a funny one. Sleds are so good these days that where Copper Harbor used to be a place that people came to stay, now it's a lunch spot. And you can come up from Houghton, 50 miles away, no problem. You can come from Eagle River, Wisconsin in a day and back. It's just sleds have changed. And so the game has changed and the economy has changed in Copper Harbor. And so we want to create this winter experience sort of similar to our summer experience, where people come and spend multiple days, come and stay in the hotels and eat in the restaurants. And it's cool. It's really cool out there in the winter. We're grooming out towards East Bluff where that is centered. And it's peaceful out there in the summer, and it's just eerily quiet in the winter. It's really, it's just awesome to be out there. And there's big plans for that to expand and pushing more of a backcountry or wilderness cross-country ski environment. So you're not just trying to pack Ks into a little loops all nestled together. This is really getting out and covering a lot of ground and getting to cool points of interest and just exploring the woods in the winter. So we had our first official year of doing it last year. We went through all the permitting processes. We bought some new grooming equipment, and that's just going to be an area where we expand over the coming years.
And Aaron has rebuilt an 89 Tacoma that he put a turbo diesel in, and it's going to be tracked.
Yeah, it's cool. It sounds like Aaron's going to start spending the winters here again, which I'm super excited for. I think all of us are really excited for. My daughter is starting at the one room here coming up this year, and Cedar, Aaron's son, will be there as well. And so I'm excited that they'll all be friends, and running around and being terrors together. But yeah, the track Toyota is going to be a unique grooming vehicle. It's cool for us because there's just more equipment we can send out in the woods and make that more efficient. But yeah, it's going to be cool to see.
Yeah, and it's just experimenting to see what works and how, because it is a unique place. One of the cool things about East Bluff in particular is the developed side of it is north facing. And so it's going to have higher quality snow.
Yeah, and we already have great snow, where Keweenaw can get 300 plus inches pretty regularly. That's why Mount Bohemia down the road is so successful. And we have a late snowpack, being right in the middle of Lake Superior, our spring temperatures are low. And so that snowpack stays around for a long time. And, the trend in climate change, I think we've seen other upper Midwest ski areas, both cross country and downhill, struggle. And I think that trend is going to continue, where I think just given our slightly different climate, I imagine our snow will continue to be a lot better than other places. Push that Nordic season quite a bit later. I think in the few years, we're going to really start planning a late season Nordic event, really after all the other calendar is finished. Yeah, just get people out in the woods in the winter.
Trail One Components, exceptionally crafted mountain bike components that support great trails. I personally run the Crockett carbon bars, the American-made Rockville stem, and the Hell's Gate grips on both my trail light and enduro bikes. These parts are the real deal, lightweight, bomb-proof, and comfortable for my old hands and wrists. Trail One goes beyond great gear. Every component is named after a real trail, and a portion of every purchase goes directly back into trails. So when you upgrade your bike, you are also giving back to trails. When you purchase Trail One components using the affiliate link on the Trail Effect website or in the show notes, you are not just supporting your favorite trails and upgrading your bike, you are also supporting this podcast. Trail One components offer a lifetime warranty along with fast and free shipping. Well, we're going to circle back, and maybe Adam is going to be dropping some secrets we don't know yet. We maybe have to edit this out. But we're going to circle back to Trails Club or Trails Fest, and you don't have to go into details at all. Maybe just slight details. But what can people expect for courses?
Yeah, cool. So, we have a bunch of races for Trails Fest. We have our cross country, a downhill, enduro are our big ones, and then a 10K run as well, and a kids race. And so the downhill has classically been on overflow and will be again this year. There's other great trails out in East Bluff that are good candidates for the future, but the shuttle situation is just a little more difficult to do that efficiently out there. And Overflow is a great trail. People love it. It's a fun downhill trail. It's really good for spectating. So there's a lot of good things about it. I think we're adding a start ramp as well this year to it used to just be a flat pedal start, and this will hopefully help with some of that. And I think the enduro is expanding this year. So I think we're going to aim for 7 stages for our top level expert. And that's kind of crept up. For years. It was 4 and then 5 and 6. And now I think we're at 7. And we'll split it with stages out at East Bluff and then kind of a lunch break and then stages in town after that. Yeah. And then the cross country, for the last few years, we've been essentially utilizing the Keweenaw Point Trail, which is great. But because it's just an out and back at the moment, it means we ride a bunch of road to get back from that. And just hearing feedback and wanting to change it up, we're going to try to use a lot more single track. And it probably means skipping a good section of the Keweenaw Point Trail, probably not going out to phase 2. And so going a little bit more old school, a lot less road miles, but probably a lot more challenging. So yeah, we're still finalizing that course, but it'll be a different flavor than it's been for the last couple of years. Hopefully people will dig it and not hate us too much for like how much climbing there is and how much technical riding there's going to be. But yeah, it should be really cool.
It'll be basically like a teaser ride for those that carry on a few weeks later and go to a Todd Paquette event up in Marquette, right?
Yeah, the Margie's coming up and back in, I lose track of time, early August, late July. At some point we had the Crusher event here, another Todd event. He does these enhanced gravel events, and it was cool to be out of Copper Harbor. I think the first 20 or so miles, 30 miles was on single track, which for a gravel event is pretty unique. It's cool that event's back in the Keweenaw. There's a couple formats they do. They do a big point to point, and then they do bigger loops. And so we were part of the point to point back in 2021, maybe 2019 and 2021.
I guess 2019 was pre-COVID.
Yeah. And then this year we were Copper Harbor's the start and finish for all the loops, and then the end of the point to point. Yeah, and it's neat. It's funny. They're not Trails Club events, but we're super involved with them, helping those guys with permitting. Whatever it needs to be to make the events flow smoothly. It's nice that it's not ours. It's a lot easier for us, but it's super cool to see that in town and see a little bit of different flavor of people coming here.
I caught the tail end of your board meeting a couple days ago, and that was something that you all had brought up where third-party events are becoming more of a thing.
Yeah, I mean, really in just the last couple of years. So there's the Rough Stuff Rally put together by some folks out of the Twin Cities. And that's kind of like just a drop group ride, I guess. It's not really a race. It's just a fun time. The vibes are really cool. It's fun. Yeah, it's a cool big ride, 40 miles or something for the long one. And then music and farm food afterwards. And so that's cool. And then Crusher coming back to town. And like I said, they're kind of nice for us. They're pretty easy. It's a low lift for us, but we still get to be involved. It still brings different people to Copper Harbor for their first experience or their 20th, but they're great to see.
Yeah. And it just totally popped into my brain. You did another event earlier this year that was like 12 hours, just like 12 hours of enduro or some kind of like at East Bluff.
Yeah, we did the all you can East Bluff Bay, which was, it was a Trails Club event, but just some local riders presented the idea for us. And they told me the name. I was like, whatever this event is, we're doing it. All you can East Bluff Bay. What could be better? And it was sort of an endurance enduro. So yeah, a 6 and a 12 hour. You could do it individually or as a relay team or a kind of group team. And what you do, you climb to the top of East Bluff, you spin a wheel, kind of game show style. It would tell you what trail you're dropping into and you do a lap and we just count every lap. Yeah. And we thought, I think East Bluff's 550 feet or so, by the time you're tired, a couple laps an hour. So we're thinking, wow, like 24 is going to be pretty good. 25, maybe. I think the most number of laps was 28, which is pretty crazy. People still seem relatively perky after 12 hours. Yeah, and it was a huge success. We're going to do it year after year, and it was fun. Again, the vibes were high, hanging out the base of East Bluff, music going, food there, and it was cool. It's cool to add a new one. So just to kind of bring everyone up to speed, what did they use for climb trail? Was it the road, or did they climb Magic Carpet, or could you choose? You could choose. You couldn't climb Summer School, so you're up the road for the start of it, because Summer School is one of the down options. So you could hop on the road or Magic Carpet. For people who were really going after it, they were doing the road. It's almost a mile shorter. I mean, it's a lot more brutal, but, cutting off that extra mile, I think just helps make those laps faster. Yeah. I mean, I did 3 laps out at East Bluff after work on Monday night. Yeah, it must have been Monday night. Yeah, on Monday night. And that was enough. Yeah. And I just kept thinking like, I'm going to have to do this for the enduro, the regular enduro, not all you can enduro. Yeah, you're going to have to do it 4 times for the enduro. So yeah, it gets brutal. I cheat and ride the e-bike out there all the time. And it's really the perfect place for an e-bike. It's awesome. You can zip up the road in 10 minutes. You can do 4 or 5 laps an hour if you're really getting after it. So yeah, I mean, I like an e-bike anyway, but really at East Bluff, it's the best place for it. Yeah, it is a very incredible part. And e-bikes are getting lighter, more capable. I mean, batteries are getting better, motors are getting better. It's another part of the market that's really opening up avenues in multiple ways that maybe some people didn't see. For sure. Yeah, we struggled for a long time just getting access for e-bikes here. So we're really lucky. We only have 7 landowners, which for a network of what will be probably 65 miles by the end of this year is pretty crazy to have that few landowners to deal with. But a major one is the state of Michigan, the DNR. And they just had a statewide policy of no motorized vehicles, and they were classifying e-bikes as that. So we lobbied hard to change that in our local area, and then that spurred the state to just change it statewide. And so at that point, we flipped the switch and allowed e-bikes. We had agreements with everybody else to allow it to do it. And it's cool. Like I love riding it for the gravity side of things. It makes, it's even more efficient than shuttling. I enjoy it more than shuttling. But also just it's like the story everywhere. It gets more folks out on bikes, people who are less capable or have issues or just want to have a different experience. So it's cool to see it out there. Well, we're going to wrap this up with a question that I've been asking more and more frequently to guests. And Adam is pretty well traveled. He's got dual citizenship, and he's obviously spends the majority of his time up here in the Keweenaw Peninsula. And I preface this with everybody is answer this question as selfishly as possible. It doesn't have to be politically correct. The answer is becoming more, the way people answer is becoming more and more common, which I think is a great thing. But what do you look for in a trail system or trail community? Like, say you had to uproot from the Keweenaw, you could go anywhere else and you could have whatever ingredients you wanted to have at that anywhere else. Yeah. What are the things that you would personally be looking for? I think community is, if I was going to move anywhere, if I was really uprooting, trails are obviously critically important to that, but the community and experiencing what Copper Harbor is, we're getting ready to move there. And man, like the vibe of the community there is so important. It's so awesome. I love the small town feel. I love knowing everybody. And so, first and foremost, I think would be that, for me selfishly and personally, but also for our family. And then trail wise, like I do love a bit of gravity. And so some really solid gravity experience. My little brother works at Legacy Bike Park in Montana, and that would be a pretty high place on the list. And that place is cool because it has an East Bluff feel. You're like up a dirt road to get there, and then it's like kind of self-contained and really cool vibes. And so some experience like that, where it's unique, but there's a small culture and community around it that supports whatever that trail system or gravity system is pretty high on the list.
Well, I appreciate you taking some time out of your day as you roll into the busiest part of the Copper Harbor Trails Club season.
Yeah. No, it's August is a pretty full on month, but we're excited about it.
Well, thank you, Adam.
Yeah, thank you, Josh.
Thank you for listening. If you like what you've heard, please take the time to share these shows with others. Sharing these shows will help create awareness of both the guests who have taken the time to be on the show and the podcast series itself. Also, if you're new to the Trail Effect Podcast, check out our ever-expanding library of episodes. If you listen to the Trail Effect Podcast on Apple or Spotify, please don't forget to leave a rating and review, as this is one of the best ways to show our support for the Trail Effect Podcast. Also, don't forget to check out Cooley Creative at www.dudejustsendit.com. For additional ways to help support the Trail Effect Podcast, check out the affiliate links tab at the Trail Effect website, where you'll find links to Kettle Mountain Apparel, Worldwide Cyclery, and Trail One components. By using the affiliate links found at www.traileffectpodcast.com, a small commission will come back to the podcast, which will help keep this thing going. This podcast has been edited and produced by Evolution Trail Services. Thank you again for listening.